Hello, everybody, and welcome to another virtual happy hour. It's Tuesday. I'm your host, Greg Avola, founder of Untapped. I'm super excited that you're joining us today. We have got an amazing guest, another founder in the internet business. I want to welcome Dennis Crowley to the screen. Dennis, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on the show. Excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, we're excited to talk to you about Foursquare and all the great things that you've been doing there, as well as some beer in Hudson Valley. But like we just mentioned, the most important part of any virtual happy hour is all about the beer. So Dennis, you sent me an email today that you wanted to have 3 beers today, which no one's ever done on the show before. So I'm super excited. Let's hear what you got on your side for what you're drinking tonight on the Hudson Valley beer train.
Okay, so I'm coming live from Kingston, New York, which is about 2 hours north of New York City, and in an area called the Hudson Valley, and there's tons of breweries up here. So I got 3 local things to share. This first is this Joe Mama's Milk Stout, which is from a local Kingston brewery called Keegan Ales. Mm-hmm. The second is from Sloop Brewing. It's called the Bomb Ipa.
Great beer.
Which my brother is a huge fan of these. I had no idea it was local. It's from breweries probably 30 minutes from our house. Mm-hmm. And then the third is, I haven't had this before, but this is from Woodstock Brewing, as in Woodstock, New York, mm-hmm. 20 minutes from our house. And it's called their Endless Cycle IPA. So nice. I've had a lot of these this summer. I haven't had one of these in a while, but I've had a long day. So it's got some coffee in it. So I think that'll help. Nice. And then I'm super excited to give this guy a try.
Nice. Well, on my side here, I've got another New York State brewery. This one is Captain Lawrence Brewery up in Elmsford, New York. This one is their Citra Dreams IPA, hazy IPA. I figured I used to be very close to this brewer when I lived in New York. In honor of Dennis coming on, why not make it an all New York affair? So if you're out there now, let's crack open your beer. Make sure you check into Untapped and tag your location as Untapped at Home. It's a great way to kind of show everyone out that you're practicing social distancing and you're being safe, as well as you can earn a special badge by checking in that particular beer on there. I usually mess up my pours on the show, and the comments always put me under. But guys, look at this. I did a pretty good damn job with this. I didn't screw it up this time. So if you're out there, raise your glass. We'll have a toast. Thanks, everybody, for joining in, and enjoy your beer. Delicious.
This one is this is intense.
Well, it's a good starter beer, I would say, from a summer hot day to a darker beer. Pretty interesting from that perspective there. But let's get into a little bit with your background, Dennis. Obviously, if people don't know who you are, just give a brief background of what you do at Foursquare, how it all started. Obviously, in a very small time period, we can spend hours talking about this stuff, but give us a little background on who you are and what you do at Foursquare.
Yeah, so let me just bring up my slides. I have 50 slides I want to walk through today. I'm the co-founder and the executive chairman of Foursquare. We're a location technology company. We've been around 12 years. Kind of our claim to fame was the original Foursquare app that allows you to check into places and earn badges and points and mayorships for all the places that you would go around the world. We kind of use that app to help us crowdsource this map of the world. Basically all the places in the world. I think we had 120 million places in there. And then we started building all this technology on top of it that enabled us to kind of understand, which phones are going to which places without people having to check in. So do they walk into a supermarket? Do they walk into a Starbucks? Do they walk into a craft brewery or like a beer store or a library or a Supercuts or whatever? And just kind of understanding the ebb and flow of where people are going. And we can use that technology and that data for all sorts of things, whether it's advertising, developer tools, analytics. We're doing a lot of stuff helping local officials and governors' offices understand the effects of COVID and how well shelter-in-place orders are going. And then, my real job is that I run the R&D group at Foursquare. Like I run the labs division. And what we do is we just make all sorts of weird stuff with our tools and technology meant to illustrate like what the future is supposed to look like.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Well, if you joined us kind of late, we're talking to Dennis Crowley, the co-founder of Foursquare. If you want to ask Dennis a question, make it a good one. We want to put him on the hot seat here. We have ask on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube, wherever you're watching this platform now. We'd love to showcase some of those questions here. You talked a little bit about how you obviously have developer tools that help other businesses use your venue database. And if you've used Untapped, and hopefully you have, you notice that we do use the Foursquare database and have since the very beginning for all the venues. And it's a great way for us to be able to get all those venues out there quickly. One of my favorite topics that people ask all the time on Untapped and ask me is, hey, I want to add a venue to Untapped. How do I do that? And I said, I guarantee you it's probably already there. And they go check. And sure enough, it's already in there because you can add it on Foursquare. So you can see the power as an Untapped user of leveraging the Foursquare database of venues to help people find different locations much easier across the board. And we've actually even expanded on that a lot with some of the integrations where you can check in on Untapped and push your check-in to your Swarm or your Foursquare account. So there's a lot of integration there to help kind of help the data come back from that perspective, especially when it comes to
one of our earliest API partners.
Yes.
You said companies was founded back in 2010, right? You guys were?
Exactly.
And there was this, there's this phase of the company, which I remember really well, where, in the same way that people talk about like, oh, it's Uber for this and it's Uber for that. It used to be like, oh, it's Foursquare for beers, Foursquare for movies, Foursquare for books that you read. And, without a doubt, one of the favorite app of Foursquare employees from the history of the company. We have a beer club at Foursquare, and you've got a ton of super fans at the office. So we should do the same thing, but you should come to our office. And, we'll deal with actual beers.
I like that, especially when COVID lifts and we're all able to do that. Absolutely. I think one of the cool things about the integration with Untapped and Foursquare is that basically we're able to leverage a lot of the places data that provides from Foursquare to help find beer out there. So we basically layer on what you were talking about, Dennis, of this map of places around the world. We layer our beer data on top of that. So we help people find beer where it's located, retail opportunities as well. So it's kind of like a match made in heaven. And, it's funny, we talk about this, we talk about mayorships and stuff that you had done in the past. And my first foray into Foursquare, I've been a user for such a long time, is I built a service called When Will I Be Mayor? This is back before you used to have mayors all over it. And people were like, hey, how many days did it take for me to become a mayor at this location? So I built this tool that allowed people to authenticate with their Foursquare account and be able to see that. And then you guys built it into your product, and then it went away. But I'm not angry whatsoever. It gave me a lot of experience from that perspective, but it was really cool to work with it and working with the APIs for a long time.
I remember the controversy around that, where it's like, if we give people visibility into how close they are, then it will encourage cheaters. Because we had this super ambitious roadmap as a company. We've always had. And early on, we got knocked off the roadmap because we grew so much. Like we had millions of people using the service, and a lot of them were trying to cheat and game the system for these digital badges. I was like, why are people bending over backwards to cheat for this? But it was ruining it for everyone else, and so we had to divert a lot of our resources to fighting the cheaters.
We have the same problem as you. A lot of the stuff that we've kind of mirrored off our services is from the Foursquare system as a whole. We have the same people that, cheat for those digital badges are the same ones that, we call them the jumpers that basically do the same thing on our side.
We call them too.
Yeah. So we've created an internal list, and it's getting a little Untapped HQ system here, but we have a bucket list that we've created that internally these users are kind of bucketed so that they don't actually have any impact for other users that use the service from that perspective. So it's kind of funny how the same problems kind of come together, whether it's badges or mayorships or it's beer or something else. It seems to be all the same when it comes to those things.
Yeah, you talk to any like real game developers, people that have spent tons of time building and designing games, and they'll tell you like, hey, listen, you've hit some level of success when you engage in an arms race with your own players, your own users.
Exactly. I see a lot of comments coming through the channel right now about Foursquare and Swarm here. And obviously there's a long history from that perspective. But Dennis, do you want to just give a quick overview of the difference between the Swarm and the Foursquare platform for the people that are asking?
Yeah. When we started the company, 10 years ago, it wasn't supposed to be about check-ins. It was supposed to be about finding awesome places, and check-ins was the way for us to learn about the world. So both things were in one app. And then, around the time that we hit 50 or 60 million users, we started realizing that a lot of the new people coming in just overwhelmed with the app. Like, do I use it to search? Do I use it to check in? If I use it to search but don't check in, am I doing it wrong? If I check in but don't search, am I using the wrong app? And so, we did a bunch of user research, and that kind of led us down the road of like, now that we've hit 50 million users, we should probably have two distinct experiences. And it was a super polarizing thing. Like, some people loved it and some people hated it, and some people left, some people came back, some people just were like, threw up their hands. But, it's one of the things you got to do. It's tough, tough running a company, a product company, and then having to make decisions on the roadmap. But I think ultimately it's more work for us because we have two apps, but, Swarm being the check-in app, Foursquare being the city guide app. But, we have well-defined communities and well-defined roadmaps for each of those products.
Yeah, absolutely. Why don't we throw a kind of a shout out here up on the screen? This is from Mark Goldberg. I was a very early adopter, both Foursquare and Untapped. I think I went to help 50 mayorships and was a level 2 type guy. So, but not by this name. Mark, we appreciate it. I'm sure Dennis appreciates it as well. Thank you for being part of it. 50 mayorships is a lot back in the day. I mean, that's a pretty substantial amount.
That's legit. Yeah, unless they were like your couch and your kitchen table and your bus stop.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much. We'll do another question here this is from Eddie. Eddie asks a question for you both. Do you feel that more or less people cheat for badges now than they did in the early days of your platforms? I guess you're my guest, Dennis. You go first. What do you think about that in terms of, you don't have badges that much anymore, but what do you think about the stuff that you've been working on?
Yeah, we went from badges to stickers. Mostly because like badges felt like you had to cheat to achieve them, and stickers just felt like freebies. And, like the cheating stopped for us probably around like 2013 or so. It became less of a distraction, mostly because we built a lot of systems to protect against it. But people want to experience things. Like, we had built this thing that was focused around New York and then expanded to other cities in the US. And we had people around the world that were basically like the jumpers, pretending to be in New York, pretending to be in the US, and trying to like earn stuff. And I think it was just, something fun for people outside the US to do at the time.
Absolutely. I had the same thing. It was literally the same people, the groups of people. There used to be a dedicated blog, as I recall, that they'd have all the instruction on how to earn all the badges that would go out.
Yeah.
And I remember, the same people that were kind of going there. I think there was like a written code or something that they could cheat for badges, but if there was like some more of money thing or a coupon, they wouldn't go after those, but they only go after the digital achievements. It was interesting. We see less of that now, to be honest with you, since we first started. One thing that we focus really hard on our side is rating abuse. So obviously we want to make sure that nobody can check in a beer on Untapped to try to bring down or bring up a score. So that's what we really focus the most of our attention on. And the badges, we like Dennis said, we developed strategies around how we can detect when people are going after these things in a different way there. But yeah, I mean, it's all in good fun. I think that, like you said, people just want to experience, like, I checked in New York or I checked in California. It's not about like actually physically going there. It's like wanting to jump from these different cities around the world and just showing your friends that you were there and you got something for it. I don't really understand it. The best way I describe it is like, you go to a festival and you see a guy or a girl with a giant panda on their back walking out of the event. You're like, how did they earn that? I don't know how, but I want it. I want to go after it and I want to get it. You can't explain your action, but you just want it. And that's kind of how I've described kind of the badge system as a whole, is that it's a great way to kind of encourage people to try different things and really, go outside of their norm. But ultimately, sometimes you make it a game. And with drinking, we try to make it very, very purposeful, that it's not meant to be a game and more of an achievement-based thing for obvious reasons there. Very cool. Let's go to another question here. This one is from Kyle, and Kyle says, "Hi, Dennis. Back when it first started, you guys competed with Gowalla. I remember Gowalla. That was a long time ago. I always thought that you won over them more than anything, but you have a mobile web experience, and they were Android only. Any thoughts on that?"
I don't know if it's like a win-lose thing. Like, we're still operating 12 years in. I know Gowalla got picked up by Facebook.
Right.
JW, who's the founder of Gowalla, like we've become friendly over the last bunch of years. And he's always super fun to compete with in terms of like, us both building product, excellent product person, excellent designer, just a really good guy all around. What's cool is like, these days we go back and forth on Twitter, right? Foursquare is like established. We're established. There's 350 people that work at the company building all sorts of stuff. And, I think JW and I each kind of have like the itch to make new stuff, make fun stuff again. It's fun to kind of trade product ideas with them. But that they're a good team, good people, and thankful got to meet them as part of the journey.
Yeah, Kyle, I remember seeing Dennis and JW talk over Twitter, and JW wanted to bring back Gowalla, and there was a good thread back and forth there. I was an early Gowalla user as well. We actually still have to this day, if JW is listening out there, we do cross-publish to Gowalla. So we had a mapping system in our sense that mapped Foursquare IDs back to the venue IDs on Gowalla, and you could push your check-in to Gowalla. So it's still there. Piece of code is still there. So if you bring it back, we'll put the switch.
Just waiting for JW to resurrect it. Yeah, wave the magic wand.
Exactly. Well, I mean, obviously, there's a lot of things to talk about with the Foursquare and Untapped size. We've been doing this for a long time, but let's shift gears a little bit into more of the beer stuff and kind of talking through a little bit about the beer scene in Kingston. We talked a little bit about the beers that you brought to this event tonight, but you've been there for a little while now. How has the brewery scene obviously grown besides the COVID situation over the last couple of years in your area?
Yeah, to be honest, like, I got two little kids. I got one that's 2.5 and one that's just over 4. And so it's been tough for us to like kind of go out and explore as much as we want to. But, definitely have been kind of in the loop on in terms of breweries open and the local breweries here in Kingston and the stuff that they're making. One of my side hustles up here is I run the local soccer team, which is a super, super fun project, like a men's semi-professional team. And so I've become very friendly with the people that run Keegan's Ales. And Keegan's, it's awesome. It's awesome brewery. They got great food. It's a super fun place to hang out. The soccer team won a trophy one year. It hangs behind the bar.
That's awesome.
We have them come and the guy that runs the brewery is a guy named Tommy Keegan. He runs like our game day beer operation out of the back of a pickup truck. He brings 2 kegs. He's always pumping. It's awesome. Like I have their Joe Mama's Milk here. Like they have this IPA. It's called Fun, and I couldn't find it. I went to 2 places today trying to get some, and I couldn't get it, but I wanted to represent Keegan's anyway. But they're great. I'll tell you, what I'd love to do is put the kids in the car and just drive around and go to a bunch of breweries, but it's just not in the cards right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
My best exposure to so much stuff has been this beer club that we have at Foursquare. And at Foursquare, we have this like devoted group of people that like every Wednesday night, you go down, we have a little bar at Foursquare, and people would bring their own stuff, right? And so you might have 10, 12 people show up, and everyone brings 2 or 3 bottles. So you line it up, or cans, and you line up. You got like 24 different cans, and everyone's got little Dixie cups, and you try 20 different beers like every Wednesday. It's like the thing that I miss the most, because everyone was trying to like one up themselves. Like, oh, I went to Japan and I checked my bags just so I could bring back this craziest lager that you've ever tasted in your entire life. And you only get this much of it because there's 20 people here. But that was awesome, super fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We have beer clubs around the world, and we know a lot of people out there that are watching have their own, beer trading stuff, and they, send it all over. Of course, I can't condone doing that, as it's probably illegal in most areas. But the most important part is that there is tons of opportunity with beer clubs. And one of the cool things about Untapped that people won't know about is that we have a custom list functionality, just similar to where Foursquare has their own list functionality in their website, where we can add beers to that list and share them with friends. So if you're going to a tasting or what have you, you can actually create those ahead of time and actually put those on there for people to actually see. So it's pretty cool to be able to do that. Plus, my favorite thing to do is to create lists. And a lot of times people ask me all the time, hey, I'm going to New York City. Where should I go? Where should I be? be. You can create those lists, whether it's in Foursquare or Untapped. We leverage the same data across the board. You can share those out. So it's a great way to kind of tick off that list from there, especially when you're trying to figure out that next great, amazing beer in your set there.
I started quarantine not enjoying IPAs. Like IPAs, like maybe once every now and then, and now that's all I drink. And every time, every time I go out to pick up beers, it's like, let me find something new, some new IPA I haven't tried before. My brother got me super hooked on these juice bombs, and all my buddies make fun of my brother. It's like, oh, you gotta get the juiciest IPA, bro. But this is so good. They have
it's a great beer.
Make, 2 or 3 different types of IPAs, and they're awesome.
Yeah, we actually had a virtual festival on Untapped about a month ago now, and we talked to the guys from Sloop Brewing, which we didn't know about this, but if you reverse Sloop, it spells pools backwards. That's how we're doing our rehearsals every day, and we're like, well, you know what? This spells pools backwards. That's an interesting fact, but that's an amazing beer that we make. We were just talking earlier, Dennis, before we went on the air, and you're from the Massachusetts area originally, and so am I. One of the great breweries up there is Treehouse Brewing Company, which is an amazing brewery that does a lot of hazy IPAs as well. Unfortunately with COVID, it's not really open in that facility at this point, but if you're ever in that area, Western Massachusetts or Central, most people that know Massachusetts know that Western is really far out there that no one ever goes to, but definitely that's another brewery as well.
Western is close to us though, in Kingston, so we're not too far from it. Isn't Treehouse the brewery where they announce when they're going to have a batch ready and people queue up outside the brewery? Right. The only time I've ever had it, Foursquare Beer Club.
There you go. Yeah, you have to wait in line significantly a lot. Now, obviously, with COVID, there's no line. There's online ordering. But the ordering starts at 9:30 in the morning. You go to a website, and you basically buy it, and you go pick it up that day. They're sold out by 11 a.m. most of the time. So it's pretty crazy to see the, just like we talked about the history of our companies, never in a million years should I think Untapped will get to where it is. But more importantly, I never thought anyone would wait in line for a beer. I thought line waiting was for Disney World, and that's really all there was for it. But when it comes down to beer, that's really where it is. But yeah, it's a crazy thing. Definitely recommend that brewery as well. Let's throw another comment up here. This one's from Home Grill Advantage. A true story. A waitress on a walk-on asked if I ever been there. I said yes. I'm actually the mayor. So yeah, thank you for using the Foursquare platform to show the mayorships out there. Really cool stuff on that as well.
God, in the heyday, like I was gonna say, in the heyday of like Foursquare and mayor stuff. I mean, there was like there was.
Oh, I think we may have lost Dennis there. He must have froze. But yeah, there was a lot of stuff back in the old days of Foursquare where people were really going after the mayorship. I know I remember getting really upset that the employees of their company was actually going in there and checking in and getting the mayorships of the places, and I was not allowed to do that because they were there every day, and I was only there a couple times a day. So I definitely understand what you were saying for there. So I'm going to put Dennis down a little bit here on the screen before he comes back there. But yeah, I mean, I think the cool things about Foursquare and Untapped is just the integration stuff. One of the things that we have created with the Untapped at Home venue is actually a Foursquare byproduct. It's a global venue that we're able to let everybody check into from that perspective. But if you want to create your own venue on Untapped, you can do that too. You can go on the Foursquare app, download the app, and be able to create your own venue, and then you'll be able to check in your customized location. So a lot of people out there have their own home venues on there, and that's a byproduct of Foursquare from that perspective. So that's kind of how we integrate pretty tightly on that system as well. Plus, all their categories and the things that they name stuff allow you to search for different things like, for example, breweries or restaurants or etc. All that metadata is in there, and it's really, really cool. One of the other areas that Dennis is from, and we'll bring him back on here. I think he just joined in. Hello, welcome back.
We're inside now.
We were just talking about, some of the cool stuff with the mayorships, and I was explaining that I think you were before you dropped off. Is that there's a heated battle for people to get mayorships in their own areas, and I was saying that sometimes you go to a hotel, all the people that work at the hotel were checking in, so they get there every single day, and they're always the mayor from that perspective. It's a fun game back in the old days for sure.
Yeah, just super weird times. It was like, we'd really, touched like build something that people gravitated towards, in the sense of like, they wanted to just have this casual game about location that they competed with the people that they were friends with and worked with. It was super fun.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a question here that came up here. This is from NFL. I get some free stuff from places being the mayor. That was a thing too. You could get some discounts as well as being the mayor of these locations, or coupons or specials. So there was definitely a lot of cool stuff that came out of that area there.
Yeah, you could get like free mozzarella sticks. You could get, what was the best thing that ever came out of it? I can't remember. I feel like there was like some large prize, but I'll be honest, like, I haven't talked about mayor stuff in like 7 years, right? I haven't even thought about it.
It's pretty crazy.
Years.
I mean, we get this question all the time, Dennis, to be honest with you, because our systems are so closely aligned of how stuff works. We had badges and stuff like that. We don't have mayors of beers, because ultimately we didn't want to create a game where people would try to one up their friends and drink more than their friends to get on the top of leadership. We have like loyalists or loyalist customers or something along those lines that showcase those things. So it's definitely something we hear a lot from the community around the world there. But
it's like Strava. Strava is like the app that you use for if you're really into cycling. And so Strava came out with this thing where it's like you have a you get the crown if you have ridden this segment more than anyone else. And everyone's like, oh, it's like Strava just launched mayorships, and so it's like we always get the credit for it, and we always get kind of dragged back into the discussion. It's fun. It's like an honor, right? But
Peloton is almost the same thing. They have badges for achieving different things. And I think that you guys definitely started a revolution. We wouldn't have badges. People always ask the question, where's the badges come from on Untapped? And a lot of them come from the inspiration from the Foursquare platform. So
that's awesome.
It's pretty crazy across the board there. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think one of the cool things also about the Hudson Valley is that there's a lot of breweries in that area as well that are up and coming. Suarez family is a very good brewery in that area as well. That does a lot of great brewery. Industrial Arts, a little bit closer to the city, is a really good one as well. But they're just, I think, most people think about New York. They think upstate. They think anything not New York City. So if you live in Westchester County, that's upstate New York. No. Rochester and Syracuse is upstate, not these areas here. I think it's definitely a great area to explore, hiking and all those things. So if you're in the area and you want to, obviously when COVID lifts, check out some great breweries. Hudson Valley offers a really good spot of stuff there. Maybe you can catch a soccer game from your team out there whenever this thing goes away and we can start playing again.
Yeah, there's so much stuff to see in Kingston. So if any of you guys find yourself in New York or 2 hours north, please swing by, say hi, and check out everything we got going on in Kingston.
Awesome. Well, Dennis, thank you so much for being part of the show. I want to give you an opportunity for any other shout outs. People can find you on social media. Anything else you want to share with the community out there?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many comments going here. It's so awesome to hear from so many people that are familiar with both of our apps and the technology and all the stuff that we've done over the last 10 years. So you just find me on Twitter. I'm at Dens on Twitter and Instagram and all those other things. And always happy to continue the conversation with anyone. So if you have any other questions you didn't get answered here, I'll see you on the internet.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Dennis. Have a good one. Thanks for being part of the show.
All right, man. Thanks for having me on. Super fun. Thank you.
Cheers. Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for watching. Really appreciate you checking out our Tuesday virtual happy hour. Hope you had a great time. Hope you enjoyed some great beers. Heard a little about the history of Untapped and Foursquare. I want to remind you of a few programming updates. We're doing Tuesdays and Thursdays now for the summertime, giving them the sessionable Saturdays a little break from those things as well. So this coming Thursday, we're talking to Jeff Outworth, which is the editor and founder of Brewvana blog, which has a lot of Northwestern breweries, talking all the great things he's talking about, all the great breweries on the Pacific Northwest that we don't really get a chance to explore too much on the east side where I'm from in Connecticut here. So that's coming up on Thursday at 7 p.m. And the following Tuesday, probably a friends of Dennis and a friends of mine, we're going to have Matt Galligan on as well, talking about all the things he's done in Midwest from the beer perspective. He's also a serial entrepreneur, talking a little bit about things that he started in the tech world, how beer has ultimately come together. He actually was an early advisor to Untapped back in the old days. So it'll be great to kind of connect with him again. So check us out, untapped.tv. If you have any feedback or questions you want to give us, media@untapped.com. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks to our guest, Dennis Crowley, tonight. And more importantly, to you guys for watching. And we'll see you on Thursday. Have a good night. Cheers.